Hello and welcome to the Three Wheel Podcast. Today I've got Bo George here with me. Thanks for joining me, Bo.
Thanks for having me.
And you've driven here just for the day from the great state of Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah.
From Columbus, Georgia, correct?
Yeah. Yep. That's as soon as you say Columbus, they assume Ohio. But I should just start saying Fort Benning because that's more recognized around the world.
How was the ride up here this morning?
It's good. It was 5 o'clock in the morning. Made it to Atlanta by 7. Beat the traffic.
Nice.
So it's always the way to go.
It's very important when you leave. When it comes to Atlanta traffic, that is very, very important.
It can be the difference of hours.
So I wanted to have a lovely talk with you on a Friday afternoon about process. What else, It's been a topic for Tommy and I for at least a couple of episodes. And, I think it's important for us to really focus in on it because how we do is really important. How things happen on projects is really important. In particular, I know you've been playing Scrum Master recently, and you're on a project where, and it may not be unique in this way, but you have members of your team that are not just folks from Three Wheel. They're also, the client has team members on there, and there's also a third party involved with this as well. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to talk with you about what are the things you've learned in this situation, maybe some key tips that you would have from it, or stuff that you've learned so far when you're in that situation.
Okay, sure. Well, let me start with when I was thinking about a topic, and I kind of was talking to you. I don't know what it says about what I've been doing, but I couldn't think of anything cool from a technology standpoint that I thought would be just the most awesome thing to talk about, and so I picked process over technology. I guess that's how much I've been a Scrum Master lately.
A Bo is becoming a man.
Yeah.
You're growing up.
Yeah. Yeah. So process on the projects I've been on lately, in particular the one I'm on right now, we have a pretty large, diverse team with developers and administrators from the client that are involved. And then offshore resources, our team, and we're all one big happy team on the project. And so it's a rather large project. We envisioned it, did the product backlog and all that sort of stuff, sort of November timeframe, about end of 2015. And it was just a big backlog. There was a lot of work to be done, resource-wise, budget-wise, and all that sort of stuff. So as we do with our product backlog and we prioritized, we also shifted it and sliced it into backlogs that the customer would own.
Okay.
So we envisioned the backlog. We kind of captured all of the things they wanted, but in the end, we aren't the one doing all the product backlogs. We've divided them between the customer and ourselves, and then within ourselves on all of our teams. And so, we manage it that way, and there's a lot of interdependencies in product backlogs. We captured things like information architecture and capturing requirements for metadata and lots of stuff like that are the inputs to actually developing a content type or a site column or producing a site collection structure. So not only do we divide the product backlog between teams, we even have dependencies on product backlog items that maybe the customer are doing and then we do, or vice versa. We may do something that they need us to finish before they can do theirs.
But everybody's running off the same sprint schedule, so it's not like you're having scrum of scrums or anything like that. It's all the same. Everybody's coordinated on the same sprint schedule.
Yeah. Yep. We're all synced on a 2-week sprint schedule. Okay. We're now in sprint 5 of 7 sprints, which our last one's a stabilization sprint. Mm-hmm. So we've learned a lot through those 5 sprints about the team, about our velocity, and all of that sort of stuff. And I'd say for a big, fast-moving project with a lot of change, it's been going well.
So how are things trending backlog-wise, I guess, with this? Does it look like you're going to, with the current velocity that you're going to be able to reach the finish line, have a happy client? And
I think so. I mean, we
don't
today,
sound overly confident about that.
No. Well, I never really know if they're happy because a lot of times I feel like did I come off as as mean or whatever. So I'm always a little bit paranoid that I'm being a bad guy when we're talking about the product backlog. Today, for example, we had it was a normal meeting, but we kind of broke it out as a little bit of a product backlog grooming session. So as with any project, new things come up along the way. I try to be good about listening and capturing those and putting them in the backlog, and then we can talk about them. And today, maybe five of 10 or whatever, 50% maybe are ones I said, now that I know how many story points that is, it's not really that important to me. Or I thought that was going to be a lot bigger, and if it's only that, let's do that. And so we did a lot of that today, and a lot of the outcome of this is that it's additional scope that wasn't in the initial product backlog, and so we can do a change order for it. If given our current velocity, we actually, when we started this project, we were going after about 110 story points. But given
per sprint, that is?
No, that's the total project. So
total project, okay.
110 story points. And so I've been watching our velocity, and our velocity actually says we can finish about 120 to 125. So we'll probably get more done.
I'm recording this, right? And somebody might listen.
So we actually might get more done than we initially thought. And there's been a lot of change. But even the stuff today we talked about is above and beyond that sort of 125. So even with the change and additional scope that we're trying to tackle, there's going to be probably a change order for
So you've seen some backlog growth over the course of the project.
Yeah. And I think, I've heard some of these with Tommy. I think that's a natural part of the process. It's part of, a lot of this comes from our sprint reviews where we get through that sprint one, we show them our features, we have that celebration and demonstration of all the things we've done, and the client will see it, feel it, and then kind of have another idea of a little bit something more they want with it, or, some other layering in on top of the features that we've shown. So it's a natural part of the process, and I think the great thing about the 2-week sprints and the sprint review is that you get to see working software rather than a mock or a little picture or whatever that doesn't let you get a sense for the actual interaction with software.
So the sprint reviews, you go through, and all three parties go through and show that they're done with what they had taken on for that sprint.
Yeah. Predominantly just due to time, a lot of the feature demonstration is purely our team demonstrating to the customer.
Okay.
The product backlogs that our customer is working on, a lot of those are kind of communicated to us or work together, so they don't do as much demonstration of their accomplishments per se, but they definitely are. A lot of their things that they've given us we're building upon now, like external integrations with other software and stuff.
And there, you mentioned an offshore component to this as well?
That's right. Yeah, one of the things, everybody has this kind of thing in their mind, outsourcing and being able to save a little bit of money by having offshore resources it's a natural part of a lot of projects, and I've worked in a lot of big companies with offshore resources, and here at Three Wheel we leverage them where it makes sense, and so we have some of those that are a part of our core development team that we manage, and Agile and Scrum is really effective in helping us manage that, because we have, communication is super important for any project, but if you have the time zone differences and the communication and cultural differences that we have, with an offshore resource, it's quadruply important.
Yeah.
So our daily stand-up is a great way to first establish what have you done, what do you plan to do, and probably most importantly, what are your impediments? Because those are the things that you got to work on right away to enable them to keep moving. I mean, with the time difference and stuff like that, you don't want to waste a minute delaying them as a resource.
Are they a part of the sprint review at all, or does somebody else represent them in the sprint review?
Due to the timing of when our sprint reviews are, I usually demonstrate and cover their product backlogs. So yeah, they're usually part of our internal sprint planning and all of our daily stand-ups, and then the sprint reviews. I've had some in the past where we kept the resources, but those sprint reviews, tend to have to be 7, 8, 9 in the morning. So these, I typically just represent them.
Did you do any retrospectives yet on the project?
We try a little bit at the end of our sprint reviews. The last few sprint reviews have tended to go a little bit long. We have a lot of opportunity for conversation where we're hearing additional features we want or discussions on upcoming product backlogs and stuff like that. So the retrospective is always kind of that last bucket on our sprint review, and it's always the one that we run out of time. Like my sprint reviews have been an hour, but we've went about an hour and a half the last two of them. So we haven't talked much retrospective, but I think we'll need to have at least a project retrospective. Ideally, we'd have a retrospective each sprint to make sure that we're on track, that the things we are doing, that they're all right, and there's not feedback about, Bo, would you stop emailing me 700 emails at 9 at night, please? That sort of thing. So,
did you have a single product owner, or were there a group of folks who were product owner? How did that work on this project?
I think it's really a shared product ownership. I mean, I think we have sort of a singular person that makes decisions, but a lot of that isn't an immediate answer. A lot of times you think of a product owner as they'll give you a yes no right then, but in our case, a lot of times I'll ask the question, and then it's sort of got to be put before a group of people, vetted, because with anything you want everybody to have buy-in. So I would say we have a product owner that represents a lot of other people, if that makes sense.
What was this like? This was for a consulting company, which is a much larger consulting than us. What was the dynamic with that? Because it's what did that add to the project? Or how did that change things?
Everybody's got their opinions of what's important, and that's always a challenge for anybody to balance. So I know the product owner has those challenges, and we have those challenges as well. On one side of the fence, you might have people who the look and feel is the most important thing. It's got to be well branded, which is certainly one aspect of the solution. Mobile responsive might be important to somebody else. I need to access this thing on my phone, and that's another aspect of the solution. But then there's information architecture, site structure, taxonomy, metadata, all those sort of things about like the nuts and bolts of tagging content so that it shows up in search. And those are all aspects. So you might have different people that think different parts of that are the most important thing. And so it's a balance. I mean, we're trying to get the best of all of that stuff. But obviously you can build and all that stuff and just have an insane budget and still not get there. So you pick your battles, you rank things in the product backlog to say what's most important, and I really like the idea of force ranking product backlogs.
Okay.
That makes you make the hard decisions, right? Like if you have 10 product backlogs and you've got to rank them 1 through 10, that's a hard exercise versus saying, well, just tell me which ones are high, medium, and low, because then you end up with 10 high. Yeah. So I like the force ranking. That really makes you make a judgment call between
Was
items.
that something you picked up on this project, or where'd that come from?
I think Bob Morris might have been the guy that I've seen sort of start to do that, and I've seen others do it, but Bob's one of the ones that really made me think about force ranking things.
Bob's coming back, baby.
Oh yeah, Scrum Master de jour.
So do you want to be Scrum Master on your next project?
I'm torn. I jokingly say that I don't get to write code anymore, which I still do, but it's just a different challenge. I mean, I like being a Scrum Master sometimes. I think the challenge really comes in, and I was joking about this at lunch with the guys, is if you are the Scrum Master, but you also happen to be a developer or maybe the dev lead, and the fact that you're playing sort of three roles that maybe can fight with each other, it becomes a challenge, because if you're wearing your developer hat, you're kind of like, I'm not going to do my tasks right now. I'm writing code. Wait, who's going to get mad at me? The Scrum Master? Well, I am the Scrum Master, So
sort of tends you towards multiple personality disorder.
Yeah. A little bit. So sometimes that might be the challenge with having multiple roles. But if you're a dedicated Scrum Master on a project and you're not in the code, then you get to stay at that mindset of monitoring the tasks and risks and the product backlog and all that kind of stuff. So it's in some respects it's a thankless job, but I think it keeps the project moving. Doing it more lately has given me a lot more appreciation for the stuff that Bob and Bruce and Tommy and everybody else that's been a Scrum Master on a project I've worked on before.
Nice.
It makes you appreciate all the stuff they have to do.
And the end product for them is a new intranet, I'm assuming. Is that what comes out of on the other side of this, is a new intranet that they're using?
Yeah, SharePoint 2013 intranet, and highly branded. Corporate branding is a key thing. Mobile responsive, which this is the second or third SharePoint 2013 that we've made mobile responsive, which is it's a challenge in itself. I know just recently the Patterns and Practices released some stuff that looked good, but this is it's a little bit more than that in that it's branding SharePoint and making that branding mobile responsive. And then you deal with things like publishing pages and the content in there and making everything look good. But it's an intranet solution, large corporate intranet for sort of knowledge management and even project site collaboration and communities and offices and all sorts of organizational areas and stuff.
Is this
like
online or on-prem?
On-prem.
Okay.
Yeah, we talked early on about it's always that first conversation, Office 365 versus on-prem, and I think there's some constraints around customer data and things like that leaned it towards on-prem.
Very nice. So, important question, how tall is Barrett?
He's 11 going on 21, and he's probably 4 inches shorter than me. So
4 inches? You still got 4 inches on him.
Yeah,
very good.
I'm 5'11", and I think he's at least 5'6", 5'7", and his foot is the same size as mine, which means I get to wear cool shoes if I can sneak them out. He's Kevin Durant's and Jordan's and stuff.
Yeah, I see pictures of him every once in a while on Facebook. You guys look like you have a good time.
Yeah, he's a hoot.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you for what you've done on this project. I look forward to once you're done with that final sprint, celebrating with you guys over getting it accomplished. And
yeah,
that's great. I know it's a difficult situation that you're in. It's difficult enough having your own team, but then involving others, I know it adds a certain layer of complexity to everything. So I appreciate you working within that. It's sort of like, who am I serving? Am I serving others on the project? And you end up having to serve multiple masters, which can put you in very difficult situations. Yeah. But from everything I hear about the project, everything's working out well, and look forward to getting that wrapped up. And thank you so much for all your hard work that you're putting in there.
Thanks. It's been fun.
Absolutely. Thanks everybody for taking the time to listen to this, and if you've got any questions or anything like that, feel free to leave a comment up on the blog post, and we really appreciate you taking the time to listen to this today. Thank you so much. Thanks, Bo.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.